Wandering Winder, continuing my look here at the allies from allies in relationship to openings in Dominion, as you might expect. Today I want to look at Cave Dwellers. Cave Dwellers lets you, at the start of your turn, um, spend a favor to discard a card and then draw a card. In Magic, we'd call that rummaging. And then you can do that again. You have to spend a favor each time, of course. You can't just stack your deck by spending one favor. Yeah, so you start with one favor. You get to rummage once. You get to discard and draw one once at the start of your turn. Now on 3/4, I guess we should back up slightly. On 3/4, there's no big reason to do this on turn one. I guess theoretically, if there's just something that you want to have a chance of drawing on turn two, I guess you could do this now, but there's not much reason to do it now instead of next turn or whatever. So there's really not, you could probably find an edge case, but in general, there's not much reason to do this now. There are, I guess I should say, there are a few different things we're going to look at with Cave Dwellers. It's kind of interesting. So the first thing I want to look at is Silver Silver. We'll come back to whether you potentially might want to discard this estate here. Let's first look at Silver Silver, and then now I have this Cave Dwellers, I have this Rummage I can use at some point during this shuffle. Using this at an opportune moment, for instance, such as here, is going to make it significantly more likely that I can hit 5 multiple times. I should note, at this point, buying silver, we're going to be, at this point on turn 2, when we buy silver, we're guaranteed to hit 5 on turn 3 or 4 at least once. And that's because, right, either we hit 5 here or we don't. If we don't, we have to have at least one estate in hand. And if we discard the estate, then if you think about it, there's our 7 coppers and 2 silvers in our deck in terms of money. That's 11 money. Once we discard an estate, we're looking at 11 money spread out across 11 cards. The worst possible case is if silver bottom decks, which would leave us with 9 money spread among 10 cards, and there's no way to split 9 money in 2, which doesn't hit 5 at least once. So we know for sure we're going to hit 5 at least once, and we have good chances, reasonable chances anyway, to hit 5 twice, because, yeah, I mean, we've discarded an estate. We have, effectively 11 money and 11 cards. So what are our chances? Our chances are, because we get to do it, time it a little bit nice, we're not just necessarily discarding the first estate we see. If we're trying to maximize our chances to hit 5 twice, we can do that 51.8% of the time. We're going to be able to get double 5. So it's not anywhere near a certain thing, but we're a favorite, and we're guaranteed to hit 5 twice. We could instead decide to try to hit 6, maximize our chances of hitting 6. Now, that's a slightly different logic than just trying to maximize our chances of hitting 5 twice. But if we're trying to maximize our chances of hitting 6, and we play for that, and exactly what all the little nuances are, I will leave as an exercise to the reader, because sometimes you may want to negotiate, blah, 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 blah. But if you optimize it, you get over 85%, 85.4% to hit 6, if that's what you're trying to do, by, correctly, optimally using your Cave Dwellers, or your favorite token with the Cave Dwellers here, discarding probably an estate at the most optimal time. And in fact, I think this is actually the trickiest case, because you don't want to, well, this maybe isn't the trickiest case. You don't want to do it now because you'd have to draw exactly the silver. You're better off waiting, where now, as long as I don't have to bottom deck, as long as the other silver didn't bottom deck, I was going to be able to hit 6. So anyway, that's pretty good chances of hitting double 5, really good chances of hitting 6 if that's something that you're trying to do. And that's going silver silver and looking to hold the token and use it on turns 3 or 4. Obviously, in some of the cases, you may also continue saving the token past turn 3 or 4, but I'm just looking at openings here. But as I noted, there's also the option, you have another option here, using the Cave Dwellers token now on turn 2. So if we use the token now, then there's going to be this estate is going to be in the discard, because we discard before we draw. There's going to be the 2 estates down here that were in our first hand, the 3 coppers that were in our first hand, and the silver that we bought. So that's a total of 3 estates, 3 coppers, and a silver. Obviously, any treasure we draw is going to let us hit 5. So that's 4 out of the 7 cards allow us to hit 5 right away. That's a 4/7 chance. If we miss 5, that's because we drew an estate. So that is going to mean that our remaining 6 cards after we draw that estate are the silver, 3 coppers, and 2 estates. We still have a chance of hitting 5 on turn 3 this way, which can happen if we bottom deck one of the 2 estates. So that gives us a 1/3 chance of the 3/7. So overall, we get to a 5/7 chance if we do the Cave Dweller thing here of hitting 5. So obviously 5/7 is like a lot worse than 100%, where if we would buy silver, but it's faster, right? Instead of it being by the end of turn 4, I'm saying that we're going to have 5/7 by the end of turn 3, and we're going to shuffle faster. So we have a chance of playing the 5 on turn 4, and if we don't get to play it on turn 4, then a good chance of being able to play the 5 on turn 5. So like we're speeding our shuffles up by going this way. Whether you want to go for the silver or you want to go for the silver and then use the token on turn 2, it's got to be just a question of what is the 5 in question, what are the other cards, are you trying to hit 6? Is it one that you really like to have 2 copies of the 5? Is it one that you'd really like to play the 5 quickly? Is it that you're trying to hit 6? If you're trying to hit 6, then you're going to go with the silver route. Otherwise, I think I would typically probably gun to hitting the 5, to using the token on turn 2. But you do have to weigh some options there. Lastly, I want to note that apart from 3/4, well, there's 5/2 and 2/5. Those are pretty obvious, I think. You probably don't want to flip through your 5 coin hand. If you have 2/5 and you really want to buy a 5 on turn 3, you probably don't flip through your 2 coin hand there. If you have 5/2, then you buy your 5 on turn 1 and flip through an estate on turn 2, probably. Pretty obvious. You can figure that out for yourself. But 4/3 is another interesting case. So right here, if we have 4/3, we have the option of doing the silver thing, just like on the 3/4, silver and holding on to the token. We also have the option of using this on turn 1. So if we use this on turn 1, now we know that there's 3 coppers and 2 estates down here. So 3/5 or 60%, we're going to be able to hit 5 right now. If that happens, then we have a small chance of a 1/7 chance of being able to play the 5 on turn 2. But even if we can't play the 5 on turn 2, we're very likely to be able to play it on turn 3. So it's a really, really good case if we hit our 5 here, and we do. But I also want to talk about, even if we didn't hit the 5 here, that's going to be because we drew an estate. If we then buy a silver on turn 2 or turn 3, the way that all of those percentages line up, we are still reasonably likely to be able to buy a 5 on turn 2 or 3. It comes up to like 64% of the 40% that we're talking about. So overall, we're looking at 85.7%, you know, the 6/7 chance of getting a 5 on turn 3 at the latest, with a 60% pretty good chance for the really high upside of getting the 5 on turn 1 and being able to play it on turn 2 or turn 3. Although it can bottom deck on turn 3 and you wouldn't be able to play it till turn 4 in that case. Yeah, I think in a lot of cases, most cases, I'm going to, on the 4/3, go ahead and use the thing on turn 1. Huge upside, and the downside risk is not that large. Biggest reason I wouldn't do this, I think, would be, again, if there's just some 6 that's really, really valuable, then I would still probably go silver, silver into trying to spike 6 on turn 3 or 4. I should note, some 6 that is much more valuable than the 5s, which is a pretty rare scenario. So anyway, yeah, few different interesting options there. Depending on whether you have 3/4 or 4/3, might make a difference. So pay attention, think it through, and yeah, I think that's about all I want to cover. Thanks for watching.